Chair now recognize Mr. Biggs from Arizona.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Administrator, for being here. Administrator Regan, the National Ambient Air Quality Standard rule sets a standard based on airborne particulate matter. What are some of the sources of particulate matter?
Many stationary sources as well as mobile sources.
Right, and the stationary sources include energy production, industrial processes, agriculture, activities, et cetera, right? And mobile, diesel, gasoline-powered vehicles, but you just mentioned anthropogenic or man-made particulate production. But there's also natural sources as well. And does EPA have a breakdown of emissions generated by source sector between, I'm talking specifically between man-made versus naturally occurring?
Yes.
And let's go over that. Here's what they break it down to. Energy production, industrial processes, mobile sources account for only 21% of total PM emissions. Ag accounts for 14%, dust for 16%, and fires account for 43%. Does that sound right? I'm reading from the National Emissions Inventory of May 2022. Does that sound right to you?
I don't have that document in front of me, but it sounds in the ballpark.
Okay. So the question is, as you're no doubt aware, I'm from Arizona, so many areas in Arizona, including those in my district, are in desert ecosystems featuring many natural sources of emissions. The May 2022 EPA policy assessment actually for Phoenix actually cites a 2011 dust storm as affecting particulates in Phoenix. We also have a drought that's been going on for 26 years. That contributes to wildfire risk. We have wildfires out there. And so my question for you ultimately becomes this. How do you propose that Arizona, non-attainment areas with significant naturally occurring background particulate matter, comply with the new standards that EPA has proposed?
Well, I'm proud to say that because of consultation with members like you and others, when we look
by the way, just clarify, not to interrupt. I'm interrupting, but I don't mean to be rude about it. You and I didn't ever consult, but go ahead.
Yeah, yes. But we have consulted with members in Arizona and Nevada and places that you described, and this is why we have a very strong exceptional events policy. Monitoring technology is advanced enough to determine where the pollution comes from. And so we don't want to penalize states where we see an exacerbation of PM 2.5 that comes from a wildfire or a dust storm or something that is not man-made. So we have procedures in place. 99% of counties in this country are projected to meet the standard by 2032. And the reason that is because we don't count some of the things that you just laid out.
Well, I'll just tell you that I invite you to come out and live in Arizona for about 6 months in the Phoenix metro area, and the number one particulate, it ain't pollution caused by man, it is caused by dust storms and dust coming out. And we've been counseled, go ahead and wet it down. Use that if you're going to stir up dust. Now, that's absurd. I want to get to another question, another area real quick, and that is on May 8th, 2024, EPA formally awarded less than $2 billion of its $42 billion in IRA-related funding. Is that accurate? I mean, that's just about 2 months ago. Is that accurate that you've only awarded $2 billion of the 42 out of IRA?
I'd have to get back to you. I don't have that number in front of me.
The reason I ask is because that's supposed to expire on September 30th, and that's $27 billion in EPA funding under the IRA, which will not have been disseminated. And the reason that that's important is because I want to know if you have any in the pipeline that you're going to grant before the end of September 30th this fiscal year, or is that $2 billion that in total? Is that going to be it? Can you find that out for me if you don't know that today?
Yes, I'm making the assumption, which I believe is true, is that it's going to be in the pipeline and pushed out before. But let me be specific and get back to my staff on that.
I would like that. I appreciate that very much. Last question, last area is we've had 3 recent cases, one a little older, and that's the West Virginia case. You've also had the Ohio v. EPA case, which is the EPA's Clean Air Act, FIP, is being stayed until to the duration of that litigation. You have Loper, which set aside and overruled Chevron. I want to know what your agency is doing to respond to that, to those particular cases, and because it looks like West Virginia was ignored by EPA because you were actually well, because I'm out of time, I wanted you to answer that, if you would, please.
Yeah, I can absolutely say that EPA did not run afoul of the West Virginia Supreme Court issue, so we'd have to talk a little bit more about that. I'm not quite sure what you're referring to there. On the other court cases, a lot of these court cases are recent. For the Good Neighbor Rule, yes, the Supreme Court stated. I feel pretty good about our case and how we're going to pursue that in the lower court. In terms of Chevron, listen, when I signed up for this job, I pledged to follow the law and follow the science, and the Supreme Court has spoken, and so we have to figure out how we get our work done under this new ruling.
Thank you. Gentlemen, time's expired.